managers on the airplane offered me a ride, so he dropped me off at their house about 10 o'clock that night, and I walked up to the door, rang the doorbell, but they did not come to the door. The light was on across the street, and this guy who had given me the ride had already left, so I went over there to where the light was on and knocked on the door and said, I just came back from Germany, and I'm here to spend the night with Patty's parents. I've got an interview tomorrow. They said, well, let me call them for you, and so they called them, looked them up, and said, somebody's at your front door. I went to the door, they opened the door, and there I am in uniform, and I felt like I was going to be pushed off the porch as they said, where's Patty? She's not here, it's just me. The next day I had the interview at 1025 Wade Avenue. I remember it well. When I walked into the old bar center, Ann King greeted me. Edith Dark and Kay Barber were working there. Bobby Gill and Fran Elder were there too. I had the interview with the personnel committee around the conference table that's in our executive conference room today. It was then in the library at 1025 Wade Avenue, and after the interview they asked me if I would wait in the hall. In short order, they called me back in and said, well, we'd like to offer you the job, and the salary is $12,000. I must have looked a little disappointed because I remember distinctly them saying, is there a problem? And I said, well, I'm making $15,000 now. And they said, yeah, but that includes all your benefits and everything being in the military. And I said, no, sir, that's my salary. They asked me to wait outside again and sent me back out into the lobby. When they came back out, they said, Captain Head, we'd like to offer you the job at $15,000. So that's how it happened. It's an absolutely wonderful story. The point of this story is that I often share with one else. It's about keeping your options open. Here's some more pictures of Alan through the years. From moving the scales of justice from the old bar center in Raleigh to a site visit at the new bar center in Icary, Alan Head led the way to the NCBA's new home, which opened in 1994. I was driven to practice law, and here I am going to be the executive secretary of the NCBA, and I'm not even sure what the Bar Association was about because after law school I hadn't joined. I went right into the military, so there was no reason to join. I wasn't even a member. I had an ROTC commitment exclusive